When we're young, all we want is to be accepted. Accepted by our family, our peers, and especially our teachers. But what happens when you aren't accepted? What happens when you're ignored and forgotten? Well, here's a story about a little girl who had to go through the bullying and torment nobody should ever have to go through. But unfortunately, high potential learners are subject to these experiences more than anyone else. Once upon a time, there was a little girl. She liked to fish and play outside and do normal little girl things. All was well until she entered into first grade. This was the first time she'd ever been bored. The teacher, let's call her Miss Kelly. Miss Kelly refused to accelerate the little girl at all. She actually said to the parents, "I'm sorry, I only teach to the middle." Now by the middle, Miss Kelly is referring to the middle group of learners, which means in between the special ed kids and the high potential learners. High potential means above the rest, or even smarter. In this case, the little girl was a high potential learner. No matter how hard the parents fought for the little girl's education, Miss Kelly decided to ignore the little girl for the rest of the year. Second grade was fine, but when she entered third grade, let's just say it wasn't a piece of cake. The little girl was literally put in the corner of the classroom and given a worksheet because she asked too many questions, and the teacher, let's call her Miss Beth, didn't know what to do with her. When Miss Beth was gone and the class had a substitute teacher, the little girl practically taught the class. Because of this, the kids picked on her at every chance they got. No matter how small the mistake, the kids were relentless on the little girl. She was pushed around because she was smarter than everyone else. She was bullied because she was a nice person. And to make matters worse, instead of helping the kids resolve their differences, the teacher decided to stand back and watch. Again, the little girl's parents fought and fought for their child's education, but this time they were told, "You just don't get it. You do so much at home with your daughter, we can put her to the side and don't have to worry about her. Once they're high learners, they're always high learners. We don't have to do anything with them." Now by this time, the little girl's parents were furious. They went so far as to talk to the Minnesota Department of Education, where they were told that they had to be careful to not hurt anybody's feelings. The mom of the little girl replied with, "God forbid their feelings would get hurt over my child getting an education." Now, this little girl isn't a stranger to any of you. You all know her. I'm the little girl. That's right, that's me, Perrin Claire Thompson. I've been ignored in the classroom too many times, and I know the feelings of being left out and forgotten firsthand. That's what makes this topic so personal to me. All those years, I always asked, why? Why me? Why do I get the brunt of all the bullying? Why can't I be normal too? Well, according to Ryan McCallum, an English teacher specializing in high potential learners, they get bullied
because they're different, and so they either learn how to hide their differences or embrace their differences and take some of that bullying that goes with it, or they just get bullied and struggle with that because they're different. And high ability athletes can be bullied. We call them jocks and expect them to be dumb. So anyone who has that much of a difference is going to get extra scrutiny and attention.
Melanie Olson, an elementary Quest teacher, says everybody has learning needs, and in schools they are absolutely not being met.
I think teachers teach to a group. Most teachers, I should say, because I know there are other teachers out there who do things similar, who differentiate for student needs, but I think mostly across the board, teachers use the curriculum to teach to the group, and there are students at all levels above and below that. And so no, I don't think individual needs are being met.
She is absolutely right. When I was at my old school, all they did was teach to the group. Let's look at this diagram so we can get a better understanding of this situation. Let's start with a circle to represent the bubble, or the group. And just for right now, let's cut the circle in half so it's easier to see. Most of the yellow space represents the normal kids, or the kids that are on the bubble. At the bottom are the special ed kids, and at the top are the high potential kids. As you can see, there are a very small percentage of the high potential kids and the special ed kids. Really, this diagram should be flipped to show that the high potential kids are supporting everyone else. The high potential learners also raise the school's average score, for example, on the MCA tests. High potential is the category that gifted and talented fall under. So just what makes a gifted and talented student? Francois Guénet, who has devoted most of his research and teaching activities to the field of giftedness, says, "Gifted students are those whose potential is distinctly above average in one or more of the following domains of human ability: intellectual, creative, social, and physical. Talented students are those whose skills are distinctly above average in one or more areas of human performance, which are conventional or analytical intelligence, creative intelligence, or practical intelligence." According to Robert Nosbush, the High Potential Services Coordinator for the Buffalo, Hanover, Montrose District, there is a big difference between a gifted and talented learner.
What high potential means to me is students who have that ability, or in some cases just really that want to be able to go further. Because sometimes it's just a passion. It doesn't necessarily mean it's gifted, it's just they really like that area.
Nosbush also states that lots of kids that are labeled ADD should actually be labeled gifted because their mind is always going, and teachers don't necessarily know what to do with them. But we'll come back to this later. For now, let's switch gears because as we know, and with anything in life, there are risks that go along with everything we do. But what I was surprised to learn was that there are a lot of risks to being a high potential student. As Ryan McCallum states,
A gifted child is more at risk for suicide and depression, more at risk for drug use and chemical use later in life, more at risk for not getting a fulfilling job because sometimes they can't. It's boring to function with other people. And so there's all kinds of risk factors that go with a gifted, scientifically defined gifted kid.
according to Patricia A. Schuler, what happens when a gifted child is just smart and is trying to survive in a perceived anti-intellectual environment? Their options may include conformity or working hard to be average or normal, withdrawal, isolation or alienation, depression or blaming themselves, aggressiveness or blaming others, continued nonconformity, and many more. In 2008, the Center for Comprehensive School Reform and Improvement said that between 18 and 25% of high school dropouts are identified as gifted, and in the past couple of years, this number has significantly risen. In 2014, the number has increased to 20 to 35%. But why are all of these gifted kids dropping out? Simply because they're not being reached and their needs aren't being met. But then we begin to question why these gifted kids' needs aren't being met. Well, basically, it's because of the government. The government doesn't have any mandatory laws for gifted programs like they do for special ed programs. Schools aren't even required to have a gifted program. And for the schools that do have programs for the gifted, they have to find the resources and allocate the money by themselves. Because of this, most schools don't have the money to fund a gifted program. But there is one school district that stands out from the rest. That district is the Buffalo, Hanover, Montrose district. They have had a gifted program since 2009 and are still going strong. They call it the QUEST program, where kids get an accelerated and enriched learning experience. To them, gifted is
the top 2% of learners, where it's not necessarily just knowledge, but it's how they work with the knowledge.
And let's just say you don't end up being one of the top 2% of learners, but you're still in that 3 to 10% range. They have a program for you too. The Buffalo, Hanover, Montrose district has an enriched program where most of the kids are accelerated in 1 or 2 areas. This enriched program gives students an experience that allows them to dive deeper into the curriculum while still being accelerated. That is doing what's best for kids.